Okay, hi and welcome everyone to this Captain community meeting. It's October 29th and I see we are a big crowd today. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. We have a couple of items today and yeah, let's dive into this. As you might know, Keptn is now listed also in the official CNCF calendar since we're on a CNCF Sandbox project. So if you have not subscribed to the CNCF calendar, you can do so, cncf.io/calendar, or you can still join us via the usual way, via the Keptn community site, which is hosted on GitHub. Then it's the last week of Hacktoberfest. If you still want to contribute to open source, feel free to do so to the Keptn project or also to other projects. We have a couple of issues listed with Hacktoberfest, with the Hacktoberfest tag. Last time I checked, it was 13 different issues from, if you're familiar with Golang or Angular, I think we have a lot of interesting issues for you. So please consider contributing to Keptn. And yeah, we're also welcoming a couple of new contributors this week. Thanks everyone for contributing. And one part or one item I want to highlight for this week, if you're talking about Keptn, if you're speaking publicly about Keptn, please let us know. We might yeah, surprise you with some swag. So if you're speaking publicly about Keptn on a meetup or on a conference, please let us know. And yeah, with that, I'm handing over because there's someone on my door bell, and I'm handing over to Christian.
Thank you. If you can unshare, or can I? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So what I want to talk to you about is basically something that just happened today, but is definitely noteworthy for you guys to know. We're seeing a travisci.org backlog that's building up, and that's delaying our builds for pull requests, and not just our builds, everyone's build essentially, as travisci.org is being changed into travisci.com, or merged actually into travisci.com, and they've just started to dedicate more resources into travisci.com, which essentially should help people to give the right motivation to migrate, and it definitely did for us. So I started working on that for Keptn, keptn-contrib, and the keptn-sandbox organizations on GitHub. And that's just a status update. I'm still working on Keptn and keptn-contrib so far, and usually not much should change for your repository if you are within those three organizations, and not that much should also change for your pull requests. The only thing that might change is if you have a branch protection set up in GitHub, which I will show you what you need to change in a short demo. So here I have Kubernetes utils in the Keptn repository, and I've migrated this over from travisci.org to .com just half an hour ago. And I tested this with a pull request here. And as you can see in the pull request, there are some checks. And as you can see, the checks are now called travisci branch and travisci pull request. They used to be called a little bit different, which is also something that should indicate to you that you have been migrated. They used to be called continuous integration /travisci/PR or /push, depending on your configuration. So if you see this string or this label, you are on the .org variant, that's to be removed. And if you see the new one, without the slashes, but the nicer looking label, this one, then you are on travisci.com using a GitHub app. So this is how you can spot it on the pull request. And if you have a branch protection set up, basically you go to your GitHub repository, go to settings. You might be asked to log in at some point again, or to verify that this is you with your password, that's fine. And you might have a branch protection rule, for instance, for your master branch. Or main branch if you created a repository recently, then you just need to edit it. And you usually have this one here, require status checks to pass before merging. And if you are on the old version, you might have a checkbox here for Travis CI, the old one. And what you need to do is you remove this check and you add these two checks basically. And you save your changes. That's it. And then you should be migrated. Just be aware when you do that, I believe your old pull requests might break. So for instance, this one by Anukul is now not mergeable because I basically forced the other two. I forced these two to run, and I'm not sure if they will be automatically run. I guess they will not. So what I will do is I will revert what I did afterwards, after this meeting, and I'll take a look at the PR and if we can merge it or not. But that might also happen to you. And if that happens to you, you can either push a new commit to your pull request, or you need to talk to us and we will just figure out what we need to change. All right. Any questions regarding this change? Okay. So the last thing on my side that I want to talk to you is the CLA bot on the Keptn repository. It's right now not functioning, so it blocks our pull requests. This is a known issue right now. We're working on it to getting it fixed. Just hang tight, but I hope we can get it fixed by tomorrow, or we remove it temporarily. We will see, so we can get the pull requests merged. And with that, I'm handing over to Ermin.
Thank you very much, Christian. I'm going to present two pull requests today in the bridge. The first one is allowed to invalidate evaluation results from the bridge. And already last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, this was presented in the core. So we now support to clean up quality gate evaluation results. So when you have some evaluation results, those are used to be compared in future. So the results are used to be compared depending on your comparison strategy. And also you see the results in the bridge, in the heat map, so you can have a look at the previous results and compare them. And now we introduced the support to invalidate evaluation results in the core, and now you also can do that from the bridge. So when you select one evaluation result in the heat map, you see the details of this evaluation result below, and you have a button here, ignore for comparison, which will open a modal and allow you to provide a reason, which is optional, and ask for confirmation. And once you press on invalidate, it will remove that evaluation from the heat map and also won't use those evaluation results in the comparison case. Short demo. When I click on my services and, for example, have a look at one of my evaluation results here, as you can see, I have here several evaluations, and my last one was even compared with the last two evaluations. And for example, this one is an evaluation I'm not happy with, so I can ignore it by clicking here. And as you have seen, it's already removed from the heat map, and it also won't be used in future. So also the Lighthouse service considers that, and it won't be used anymore.
Quick question: are you refetching the evaluation done events here, or are you just removing it from the local store?
No, in this case, I'm removing it from the local store on a successful. So I push evaluation invalidated event to the API via post, and on success, I remove it from the local data history. So in the heat map here, and of course, if I refresh my bridge, then it's reloading those data, and also again considering, so all the invalidated results are filtered here.
Yeah. Do you know out of your head what's the limit of results that we show in this chart? 50 or 20
50,
or something?
yeah. The limit is 50 results, so maximum is 50.
So if we were to delete, let's say 30 results, because yeah, we saw that it's missing, we would have to refresh eventually. This might be a follow-up task, Johannes, that we should consider.
Yeah, refreshing so that we have the last true.
That
Yeah.
evaluations come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if
past.
I have here a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 results, and if I would delete all those 8, I would have an empty heat map here. Although I maybe have more results in the data store, for example. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Also would have,
Andreas?
Andreas,
I also would have 2 questions. The first one is, can you please click on the event which you just invalidated on the keptn context? So how does this look in the event stream?
Oh yeah, I can have the you thinking about the root event here.
Yeah, right.
I think it was the 3rd one, and actually, oh yeah, good one. The heat map is now, of course, not loading because yeah, I don't have that event here. I have the evaluation invalidated event here in the event stream. So because it's a new event, yeah, it pops up at the end here. But it's of course in the staging stage, and yeah, this actually is used to filter that invalidated event. But yeah, the question is maybe we should just show here the message that this is invalidated.
And I would now have one further question for my understanding. Maybe I misunderstood it. Can you please go back to the keptn context where you have invalidated one of those?
Yeah.
So now I can see in the heat map that the current evaluation was compared to this last one.
Because the one that it was compared to was deleted. So it was compared to 3. As you can see, it was compared to 3 past evaluations, but the one that I invalidated is now also filtered from the heat map.
Yeah, true. So
yeah,
but it's not.
This
really
is persisted, so the result is not changed after invalidating it. It's just for future evaluations, we don't consider those invalidated results.
So my question, does it even make sense to
remove it from the heat map?
And to invalidate all old evaluation results? Should we only allow to invalidate the last one, which was not yet used for comparison?
So
get my point?
So Andreas, I think this question is more related to the original issue where we have a huge discussion about this. The implementation as it is right now is according to what we agreed on in the issue. I do get your point, although, but we should discuss this in the issue, I think, or in
maybe we can discuss it in a follow-up.
We had a lot of discussions about this already where we thought like, yeah, we would need to reevaluate, and reevaluation is not that easy. So we just started with, let's say, removing or disabling some of them. And
yeah, maybe a side note, the main use case for invalidating results is for your first, or let's say the initial setup where you don't have your SLIs configured, for example, or for failed results that you just don't want to appear anymore in the heat map. That's the main use case. So you invalidate, for example, failed results, and failed results are usually also not used for comparison. Of course, you can also invalidate successful results, but I think that will not be the main use case.
Thanks for the explanations. Yeah. So at least one follow-up issue I definitely see is that if you cannot load the evaluation results because it was invalidated, we somehow have to say the user, yep, this was invalidated. It's expected behavior.
Of course.
Cool feedback.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you for the feedback. And yeah, one more pull request I'm going to present today is show all core use cases in the integrations page. So I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, we presented the integrations page. And on the integrations page, we show some examples for the use cases, or actually we had just one use case there, how to trigger a quality gate evaluation. And now we also add the examples for how to trigger deployment with a new artifact and how to trigger remediation with a problem event for the CLI and for the API. This information is only shown if you use Keptn not in the quality gates only installation. So in the quality gates only installation, you will see only the trigger quality gate evaluation examples. And for the full installation, you see also the other examples, which are in this case, as already said, how to trigger a deployment. So for the CLI, it's the keptn-sand event new artifact with the placeholders for project service, image, and tag. Also for trigger remediation, it's a keptn-sand event with the problem in a JSON format. And in the API case, yeah, it's simply a post to the event endpoint with having either the configuration change event or the problem open event in the payload. Yeah, that's all from my side. So if there are no more questions, I'm handing over to Johannes.
I mean, just one quick side note. Before reviewing your PR or closing it, there is a follow-up issue, especially in regard to the environment variable that you're using to control whether we show this use case or that use case. And I would like to discuss this follow-up issue, or actually I will show it in a couple of minutes, as I would propose to set the value for this environment variable depending on via Helm chart first, and also when installing Keptn.
Yeah.
And also, but let's do it later on to discuss it. Okay, yeah. Well, then it's my turn. What I have to show you is actually that I continued working on my documentation issue that explains the requirements for the Keptn services that are running in the execution plane. Yeah, last week we had a review here in this community meeting where we took a look at the implementation or of the improvements that I did, and I also then took your recommendations and improved my current PR. And when we now go to custom integrations and to the section of writing a Keptn service, then I'm now showing you two options for your distributor. One option is the way that you run your Keptn service inside the Keptn control plane. Then you get now here a table that shows you all the settings you have to configure for your distributor to make it work in a control plane. And in case you run it outside of Keptn, your Keptn service, yeah, in the execution plane, can be somewhere. And for this, I'm also presenting you now a table that explains all the different settings you can configure depending on what you want to do. All right, yeah, this was then improved based on the feedback I got last week. And I'm now at the state where I would like to ask someone for reviewing my PR. I mean, when someone has time, the next couple of days, please just give me a review on that. Would be really appreciated. And the second issue I was working on this week is a wireframe for the sequence screen in the bridge. Well, I was doing this in jointly with Ermin. Since we are now changing quite a lot when it comes to the eventing mechanism of Keptn, especially with the new shipyard controller, we also need to rethink how we present this in the UI. And for that, we came up with the idea of providing a new screen, which is then called the sequence screen. Right now it's in progress, this wireframe, but by next week on Thursday, we are ready to show you a preview and also how it will look like. And then we also want to discuss it with you in this meeting. All right, yeah, it's currently in progress, but already looks good and really excited. I'm really excited about the new screen, as it will help a lot. All right, that was it from my end. Then I will hand over to Florian.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's get started. Today I wanted to show you two pull requests, but the first one actually was the implementation in the backend part of Keptn for supporting the invalidation of evaluations. So I think since Ermin already gave us a great demo about that feature, I think we can skip that one and just continue with the second one, which affects the shipyard controller. So let's just have a look at the issue itself. So basically, the requirement here was that the shipyard controller subscribes to trigger events that are defined in the shipyard YAML and provides a built-in task sequence for evaluations. So in order to know what that means, let's just have a look at an example of the shipyard. So as we have already seen this new format of the shipyard a couple of times, but what was meant in this issue here is that, as you can see here, each of the stages provides or has a couple of sequences that can be triggered and that consist of several steps that should then be executed by the execution plane services. And in the shipyard controller, it's now possible to listen for an event that has the name of the correlating task sequence and then trigger the sequence and start the complete task sequence flow and synchronize all the incoming finished and started events in order to progress through that. So for example, if you would like to start the artifact delivery sequence in the stage dev, you can now send an event with the name sh.captain.event.dev.artifact delivery.triggered and also pass some input data that should be sent to the first service that's part of this sequence, and the shipyard controller will correctly pick up this event and start the correct sequence. That was the first part of the issue that has been implemented. And the other one is, as you can see here, we do not have any sequence that's been with the name evaluation. And that means, and basically, if you would like to use the QualityGate standalone use case, we added a convenience feature in the shipyard controller that allows you to use that use case without defining a separate sequence for that. So now if you, for example, would like to start an evaluation in the stage dev for a certain service, you can still send an event with the name dev.event.evaluation.triggered, and then the shipyard controller will look at the available sequences, and if no sequence with the name evaluation is present, it will still support that and send out an evaluation.triggered event, and that in turn will get picked up by the Lighthouse service, and then the whole evaluation workflow will start. And of course, you can always override that. So if you would like to define a custom task sequence for an evaluation, you can do that by adding a sequence with that name and then starting it with the evaluation.triggered event. All right.
I would have 2 questions to those 2 points. My first question is it now possible to do an evaluation for a continuous delivery use case? So before there was no possibility to trigger an evaluation without deploying an image into the next stage. And is this use case now possible?
Yes. So for example, if you would remove that step here, this deployment step, you could still, it would directly proceed with the test, where it will test what is currently deployed, and then with the evaluation.
So does this mean I can use the artifact delivery sequence and also the evaluation sequence for the same project service and stage?
That would be possible, yeah.
Okay, cool. This was my first question. And the second one is now we are calling this artifact delivery, the sequence name, yeah, artifact delivery. And before we always called it configuration change. So we somehow need to streamline this with the Helm service. So the Helm service expects in its event, in the triggered event, some input data for the configuration change. Either we call this configuration change or artifact delivery. This needs to be defined, I guess. But we can discuss this on the issue.
Yeah, I think the labels or the strings that we use are not matching. So Helm service wants configuration change somewhere in the payload, if I'm not mistaken, and we call it artifact delivery here.
Right.
Yeah, should be a minor change.
The name of the sequence shouldn't matter, but the Helm service will listen for the deployment.triggered events. But still here, we are not consistent since we're providing the configuration change property directly in the data block of the event. And in my opinion, it should be part of the deployment property. So within data.deployment.configuration change. I think that would be more streamlined in terms of naming.
Do we even need configuration change? I mean, what would be the CLI call or the API call, so to say, that we would use with that? We would send in, we would trigger an artifact delivery, and the parameter of artifact delivery would be deployment, and deployment would have, I don't know, an image or maybe a URL to something, depending on what your deployment service is. Or did we specify this strictly?
In that case, we're now more generic. So now we do have that configuration change property, which is actually a map that maps strings to interface type, and that allows us to provide arbitrary values to be set within the Helm chart. And previously we had a dedicated field called image and tag. And that was a little bit too limiting, because using that we, for example, didn't have the possibility to change the value of the replica count, for example, or any other property within the Helm chart. And using this generic mechanism, we can do that now.
All right, yeah, then let's create an issue and compare the variants that we just talked about. Johannes, can you do that, or should I do that? If you want, I can do it if you do the next part in the meeting until I finish.
All right. If there are no further questions, those were the 2 pull requests I wanted to show you. But also really quickly, there were also some bugs fixed in this sprint, which I'm just going to show you which they were, and so that in case you were following those, you now know that they have been fixed. So really quick, the first one, when the CLI didn't have a connection to the keptn cluster, it ran into a timeout, even though when, for example, for some command, it wasn't actually required to have a connection to the cluster. So for example, for the help command, and this has been solved in this issue. So now it won't hang for 30 seconds anymore, but it will return after a predefined timeout of 5 seconds. All right. A similar issue came up in the Helm service when it was waiting for a deployment to be ready. So here we also didn't have a fixed timeout threshold, and that caused the service to hang for an indefinite amount of time. And that has been also fixed here. So now after, I think 3 minutes, if the deployment isn't ready, the Helm service will now finish with an error. And finally, the last one. So the way this bug came up was during the migration or during the upgrade from a previous keptn version for a project where an upstream repository has been updated after the project has been created. So with the keptn update project command, it wasn't visible in the bridge that the upstream repository actually was configured. And the root cause for that problem was not in the bridge, but in the configuration service, because this update hasn't been picked up correctly. But now this has been fixed. And now if you do the update project, the upstream repository will correctly show up in the configuration service. All right, and I think I'm now through with all my...
No, Florian, there's an additional one, the event endpoint.
Yeah, you're totally correct. So basically here we, I can quickly show you that one. So here we just specified the wrong content type header for the responses of the MongoDB data store. So here we had produces application cloud events plus JSON and application JSON. And in fact, this was not correct here. So it only accepts cloud events and JSON, but it doesn't produce that. All right. I think that was it.
Why is it not a cloud event plus JSON what we return from the MongoDB?
Because it doesn't return cloud events. It returns an array containing cloud events, but this array already is not a cloud event anymore.
So the full story is a little bit more complicated than it's on the issue, but essentially Nginx blocks the response and just tells, like, I don't know, HTTP 406 or something like that, which is weird because if you contact the service directly, it works. So we just went the easy way, but we have a follow-up issue that we need to do some research and see what's actually happening, or if there is something wrong with Nginx, or if it's maybe a HTTP SPEC topic.
All right, yeah, then let's jump over to the working items that are ready for review. I will skip those that are not closed yet and are waiting for a final review. Here, Bernd also worked this week on doing an update on the documentation. This one I can actually show you, because what he did is he updated the part where you can set up monitoring for Dynatrace, and in the install section of Dynatrace, he updated the screenshot for the API token. since Dynatrace has now 2 versions of the API, V1 and V2, and you have then to toggle the proper feature flag depending on what you want to need or what you want to use. And he updated those with slightly changes here down in the text. I think I will move it over, and I opened an issue thanks to Christian Heckelmann, who brought it up that the help for the use case flag for the keptn install command is not very useful. Before it said the use case to install keptn for continuous delivery, and well, that does not help that much. And we improved it by now saying when selecting this flag or use this flag to install the execution plane from continuous delivery. Without this flag, your keptn is capable of the quality gates use case and the automated remediation use case. And this was then implemented by Nanik. Thanks a lot. And with keptn auto date, you will then get this feature. All right. Then let's go over to those that are in progress. Christian already told us that he is currently in migrating the repos from travis.org to travis.com. It's a critical one as we are kind of blocked with all the builds in the background. They are queued and we don't get any successful, or it takes a long time to get the builds done.
Yeah. The bad part actually is, as the issue says, by December 2020. So we had this in our backlog for, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. Yeah, it got critical today.
Christian, how is it going with the documentation for the troubleshooting section?
Yeah, I was sidetracked. There is a draft PR for this, but I still need to refine on it.
Okay. Then Florian, what's your progress on updating the Dynatrace service so that the Dynatrace service understands the new cloud events?
Yep. Almost done, but 2 follow-up issues came out of it. But I think that task will be ready for review tomorrow.
Cool. Then here we have the issue that says adapt CLI command create service, onboard service, and delete service to use the endpoint of the shipyard-controller.
Yeah, exactly. Same here, almost done. But in order to merge that, we have to wait until the previous task where I've implemented the actual creation of a project within the shipyard controller to be merged. So today we had some problems with Travis. So it will be merged, I guess, by tomorrow, and then that PR will be ready as well.
Perfect. This means we are kind of depending on that one.
Exactly.
All right. Then we have the issue and exify the captain's bridge. Ermin, how's it going?
Yeah, we have actually those 2 refactoring tasks in the bridge that are still open. Yeah, I had no time this week to look at them, but I hope I will have time tomorrow to finish them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, then as I already said, Ermin and we are working on wireframes. We will present them next week. This one is under review. And then here we have one that is implemented or going to be implemented by Tide. He has opened a pull request, and also I think Florian left a comment there. Let me just think Tide is also on the call. Let me promote him to panelist really quick. Hi, Tide. Do you need some help with your issue, or are you okay so far?
He already made a comment on what to do, and I think he did it already.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went through it and I reviewed the forward and the receiver. Yeah. So I think I got what to do there. What I should have done rather. Yeah. Yeah. He made a comment.
All right. Yeah. Florian did a review and left a couple of comments, but please let us know when you need help.
Okay. I'll do that.
All right. And then here further down, I have a couple of issues that are also in progress, and people from the community are working on that one, on those. We also left a couple of comments there to get them finished. Yeah, let's keep it there and let's wait until these colleagues are done. Then we skip the assigned and committed column, and I will jump over to the backlog.
Yeah, so maybe I'll take the first one. This is the follow-up issue to what Bernd did in the docs. We already have the issue linked up there, and there should be a pull request linked with the issue, I guess. So what we need to do is to update the tutorials with the new screenshot that's linked in the pull request. I'm not fully sure. It might be 2 or 3 parts in the tutorials where this needs to be updated. So yeah, should be rather simple because we can reuse the screenshot and just make sure the texts still make sense.
I think really straightforward, as we have already the screenshots, and yeah. Someone up for doing that one?
We can leave it in a backlog, I guess. It's a good first one, so if we find time, we'll just do it.
All right. Then the second issue that was identified by Jürgen last week, where he observed the following behavior. The problem is that this time, or this duration, does not change and will always be the same depending on the evaluation you're looking at. Here, for example, Jürgen selected is taking a look at the last evaluation. This had a duration of 5 minutes, and when he goes or clicks through the heat map, the duration never changes. It's always the same, but they were different as we identified. Yep.
Okay.
Has someone time to work on that issue?
Okay.
Did it? I don't know.
Is it a first good first issue? I can take it if it's a first issue.
I don't know.
Ermin, what's your recommendation?
It might be a small issue just because, yeah, probably the duration is already calculated somewhere, but just not updated when clicking on the element in the heat map. So, yeah, it could be a good first or easy to start.
Tide, do you want to give it a try, or would you like to focus on the other one first?
Yeah, I think I would. I could give it a try. Yeah, I could. And then just.
All right, thanks a lot. Then I will assign it to you. Or actually, you have to leave a comment on this issue that I can then assign it to you. Just say that you want to work on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, wrong evaluation time frame. Okay. Yeah.
All right, then the next one is the follow-up issue that I was mentioning before, because Ermin told us that the bridge now has the environment variable that controls which use cases are shown in the integrations page. And this environment variable is called keptn-install type. And here a reference where it's set. And I would now propose that this variable supports 3 different types, which are the quality gates, then continuous operations and continuous delivery. And when we do a keptn install and we just do a keptn install, then we set this environment variable to continuous operations, because what we install then is the quality gates and the remediation use case. And when we do a keptn install with the flag -- use case, then we set this variable to continuous delivery in order to provide then the full feature set in the bridge.
I would have a question. So I did not read this issue beforehand. So should we really solve this using an environment variable, or should we extend our API or metadata API, which allows you then to query this information? So that the keptn installation itself knows whether it's a quality gate evaluation, continuous operations, or continuous delivery operation, or but
I mean, I understand your point.
So we don't have to decide it now.
So just to weigh in on this with my 2 cents here, right now we just need to have the distinction what was installed with 0.7, whether it's quality gates, continuous operation, or delivery. In the future, we will need a service list that has been installed, and maybe depending on that service list, we will show different output in bridge or whatever. So this will change in the future. So we shouldn't overcomplicate it right now. But I definitely get your point. It would be better suited in our metadata endpoint long term. But I guess for now, it's the way it is with the Helm chart and as an environment variable works for us, I guess. Maybe long term, Johannes, we should figure out what metadata we actually need out of a keptn installation, because it's not just the distinction between quality gates and delivery and whatever, but there might be different ones.
Yep, I agree. Okay, but apart from the implementation on the API side, does this make sense to you to control the bridge via the environment variable that has then the value, that one of these 3 values?
I mean, it's a technical solution, yes. Yeah. So for me, it's not quite clear that we return continuous operations when we only say keptn install. So keptn quality gates is then not needed. But...
That is true, because continuous operation kind of includes the quality gates use case, as it is part of the remediation use case. Or let's phrase it in a different way. The quality gates only is the smallest possible set of services that you can use with keptn. Then comes the continuous delivery on top.
But you can install quality gates only now. That's the point.
That's the point, yeah. And that's the point, because when you do a keptn install, you install quality gates as well as the remediation part.
Right. Yeah. But cool for this issue, so that's fine.
All right. Is it then clear to everyone? Because then I would like to assign it to someone.
You can assign it to me.
Cool, thank you very much. Oops, I clicked on my name, sorry for that. All right, yeah. Then the next one is about the gatekeeper. As now more and more functionality moves from the gatekeeper into the shipyard controller, there's not that much left over from the gatekeeper, and it should become kind of just the approval service, who is then taking over the responsibility of accepting or declining an approval. And this is what is written down here. It's quite a lengthy issue or issue description, but the overall goal of this issue is that the gatekeeper is just capable of doing then the approval step by listening to an approval triggered and then sending out an approval started as well as an approval finished event. All right. Has someone time to work on that one throughout the next week?
Absolutely.
Ah, okay, cool. All right, then I have, I think, one left, which is about linking the stages. Linking the stages based on the events that are sent out by our task sequence. Just let me give you an example. Here or in this new shipyard, you see that there are two stages, a dev stage and a hardening stage, and both have an artifact delivery sequence. And whenever or when this sequence is finished, it should kick off the execution of the sequence in the hardening stage, as this is here configured by the trigger, which is dev.artifactDelivery.finished. And this should then link the stages you have configured in your shipyard. According to Florian, this is actually working right now on the master. But what we want to address with this issue is the update of the integration tests for testing this out. And we left a note here. Christian, you wanted to provide a description of the integration tests that you would like to see.
Yeah, I guess I forgot that. I'll add that on my to-do list. I'll add the note by tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we can also leave this one in the backlog, and when the descriptions are there and someone has time to work on this issue, then feel free to take it and to start working on writing the tests.
Yeah, maybe just to summarize it quickly, we have integration tests that deploy to Google Kubernetes Engine and do an end-to-end test. And I want to avoid it for such a basic feature that we need to rely on this end-to-end test. It would be much nicer if we just have, now that we have the ability to control the shipyard content, to have an integration test with 2 stages in the shipyard and the custom workflow or whatever. That's like 2 flies with 1 clap, and we have it tested. Plus, it would also work for pull requests because it could be tested locally using keys, and you don't need a cloud environment for it.
All right. Yeah, and then like every week, I want to bring up this issue. It's just a summary of all those issues that are out in the keptn-contrib and keptn-sandbox organizations, because we need to upgrade or update the services in order to make them work with the new shipyard controller. And take a look at this issue and feel free to grab one of those further down, as they just tell you what need to be upgraded to make the keptn-contrib and keptn-sandbox service is aware of the new shipyard format. No, new cloud events format. All right, yeah, that's from my end. And I don't have any further item on my bullet list except of that one. When you want to start contributing to Keptn, just feel free to take a look at the issues that are marked with good first issues or with Hacktoberfest. That are also issues that are good getting started issues, and leave a note there. Just inform us via Slack that you want to start working on an issue, and then we will assign it to you. All right, we have a couple of minutes left. Are there any questions from the community?
So I would like to ask this question. Is there like a detailed pitch where I could get the overall architecture of what Keptn does, like the old design systems? I think that would, yeah.
The best that I can provide to you is shown here. You go to keptn.sh, then under concepts, there you find an explanation of all the use cases that are supported, which is the multi-stage delivery, the quality gates, the continuous performance validation, and the automated operations use case. And then here you find an overview of the architecture Keptn is built on. This is to some extent a very technical one. Here you see all the components and how they are kind of working together. The entry point is an API gateway, which is running on Nginx. And then this one is speaking with the API service. And yeah, in the center of Keptn, there is then nuts for doing the eventing. And based on that, we have implemented a bunch of services that are listening to events and do their job depending on the use case you have installed. I think it's a good starting point to get an understanding how everything ties together and works together. You also find short explanations of those components further down. I would recommend you just reading over this documentation and let us know when you're missing something, because we are always looking for improvements also in regard to the documentation. And when you miss some information, just let us know, please.
Okay, thank you.
This is a really good point, because we need to update especially this side for 0.8. So for example, we do not have any event broker anymore. And I would propose to create the issue for those and also label it with 0.8.
Yeah, because the shipyard service is gone.
Yeah.
True.
Also, regarding the issue, I've written my text in the link stages based on task sequence issue, and while writing that, I just figured out for such a simple integration test, it might make sense to have a so-called echo service somewhere, either in keptn-sandbox or in Keptn Core, I don't mind. The echo service would really just get a triggered event, reply with a started event, and 5 seconds after that with a finished event. So it doesn't do any logic. It's basically an empty service that really just echoes what it gets. That would make integration tests really, really simple. And I think the service itself is not too hard to write. Yeah, so just putting that out there. I guess we can discuss it on the issue because we are running out of time now.
That's true. Yeah, we are on the top of the hour. When there are no further urgent questions, just waiting a couple of seconds. No, there aren't. Then thanks for joining today's community meeting, and have a nice day, and see you next week. Bye.
See you. Bye.